Hi, Daniel Hall here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have something very special for you. What we're going to do is walk you through how you can make your own personal hero's journey into a money-making endeavor. That is how to become the subject of your own documentary and profit from it. That's what's coming up in today's video. So before we jump in, I would really appreciate if you would throw a like on this video, and of course if you're new to the channel, it would be awesome if you would subscribe and of course hit the little bell notification. We do this kind of awesome content for you, and if you like this kind of thing, this is definitely your channel. So the first thing that I want you to understand, that it sort of underlies and is the foundational principle of this entire idea. It is this phenomenon that many books sprang from challenges, in other words, goals that the author made for themselves, who then undertook to achieve those goals and then documented their progress along the way. Okay? So that's really what we're talking about here, is using a challenge or your own sort of personal hero's journey to not only develop content, but also bring people into your sphere of influence. Bring people in that are interested in a journey like yours, because they may be interested in taking that journey themselves, or at least seeing that how other people do it and what comes of it. So in many ways, really what this is it's a documentary where you personally, the author, is the subject matter of that documentary. Now, in terms of documentaries, we're not talking about filming the documentaries, although you certainly could do that. I'm talking about it from the standpoint of actually writing out what's going on at each step of the process. And we're going to talk about how to effectively do that in such a way that brings new people in, new people that don't otherwise know who you are, would not have bought your book, but for them participating with you, living vicariously through you, through your own hero's journey. Here's one of the reasons why this strategy works so well, because it plugs right into the hero's journey that we've all sort of been conditioned to respond to. And when I say conditioned, I'm talking about it's hardwired into our brain, going back time immemorial to the days of the ancients, when many tales had different aspects of a story, and without regard to the different society or civilization or even time period, there were certain elements of folklore that were found throughout. And in fact, this great book by Joseph Campbell was the first to really study and then document these similarities between different folkloric type stories that resonate with us today. This book, I commend it to you, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, really was and still is very cutting edge when it came to the idea of we really have this one monomyth. That's what Joseph Campbell called it. Monomyth meaning that we have one sort of overarching myth that is, again, hardwired into the human brain that we find give rise out of different stories. And one of the cool things about this whole idea is that when you set out as an author to undertake some challenge, to do your best to achieve some goal, that there is an element, actually many elements, of your hero's journey. The hero's journey as described in The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So let me give you some examples of what I'm talking about here. The first one was this book by A.J. Jacobs called The Year of Living Biblically. And the title of the book tells you the nature of the challenge, right? A.J. Jacobs decided that he would do his best to read the Old Testament and live by its rules, lots of them in there, for a year. He documented that journey and thus built a group, built an audience as he went. And then at the end of that year, he wrote this book that became a New York Times best-selling book for a long, long time. And he has this great book called The Year of Living Biblically. I'll give you another example, because there's so many examples here, actually. Here's another one. Chris Daly did this book called The Productivity Project. And what he did was he devoted 1 year, one straight year, to doing deep dives into different productivity experiments. He tried to do different things that basically made him more productive, some of which failed miserably and some of them succeeded and he triumphed with. And again, the same sort of thing. He documented the journey and what was working and what wasn't working all the way through. And then when he finished his year, he compiled his findings into this book called The Productivity Project, which once again went on to become a national bestseller and still sells very well to this day. Let me give you another example. Now, Shirley MacLaine wrote this book, The Camino, A Journey of the Spirit. And what this is essentially a challenge whereby she undertook to do the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, which is this ancient pilgrimage in Europe through the Pyrenees Mountains to this cathedral in Santiago de Compostela. And it's reputed to have the bones of the Apostle James. And for really hundreds of years, pilgrims from all over Europe would go do this walking. Some of them did it on their knees. And that's what this book was all about. So Shirley MacLaine did that walk, the Camino, and again, documented that journey and the trials and tribulations and triumphs from that particular journey. Let me give you another example. I love this from Keira Brookins. Keira was a single mother of 4 children who wanted to build a house for her and her family. So what she did was she watched YouTube videos and put her and her children to work at building this great house that you see here in this picture. And this became this book called Rise, How a House Built a Family. Once again, the same kind of deal. Documented that challenge as they went, built a following, built an audience as they went, and at the end of that challenge, wrote this book. Again, this is a very, very legitimate, great path to, again, having great content, as well as building an audience for that content as you go. Mamma mia, it's wonderful. Let me give you one last example here. Now, this wasn't a book. This was Morgan Spurlock did this film documentary called Supersize Me, where essentially he ate McDonald's for an entire month. And then once again, documented that and its effects on his health. Regardless of what your end product is, be it a book, be it a blog, be it a movie, this process, this method works. Let's jump in now into how perhaps, if this resonates with you, how you could use it. Here's the thing that I want you to understand, that this process, the one I'm describing to you here, is a great opportunity to work on some project that
that you've always wanted to do. And of course, the more unique, the better. And it also, once again, gives you an opportunity to build a platform of people that are resonating with you and your challenge as you do it. And the other cool thing is that it allows you to take the experience and distill it down into really great quality content of the lessons you learned into actually writing the book and putting the content together for the book, that then once you've done all that, you can launch into your platform that you've been building all along the time, right? All along the way. And of course, then you can go do a media book tour and all of that great stuff. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about how you go about choosing a challenge or choosing a topic. So like any book project, research is really, really crucial to see whether there is a market for whatever you kind of contemplate before you begin. It's really a examination into whether or not the hook of the challenge is truly saleable. And one of the things to ask here is, what are the potential benefits to you and your readers? Are readers looking for those kinds of benefits? And does the marketplace already reflect that they are looking for those types of benefits?
You want to choose a topic in a challenge, in a goal that you're very passionate about, that even when tough times come, that you can persevere through them and not give up, not quit. That's why you should choose something that you're very passionate about, again, on that one hand. But on the other hand, you also need to choose a topic that is likewise saleable. So the idea, once again, is, you're not setting up let's choose something. You're not trying to establish and earn a living for a year on a worm farm or something, strange, or maybe that would actually work. I'll let me think of it. Anyway, as you sort of weigh those two factors, am I passionate about it and is it saleable? The other thing you should look at is, do you have some sort of a back-end offer? Because what's going to happen likely is you're going to attract a new audience to you. And that audience is going to want more of whatever they were attracted to in the first instance. So if you have a coaching package or a high dollar course or some experience, maybe it's to travel with you, for example, whatever it is a high dollar back end offer that benefits both you and them. That's the other thing that you should consider when you are doing one of these sorts of challenges. So you've chosen a challenge. What next? How do you go about designing your experiment or your challenge or your journey so that you're going to get the most benefit from it, and so will your viewers, so will your potential audience that gets attracted to whatever it is you're doing here. So let's talk about that for just a second.
So the first thing you must ask yourself is, what is the purpose of the experiment? What are you trying to achieve in it? Also, how long will it run? With Morgan Spurlock, he took, I think, 30 days, right? AJ Jacobs took 1 full year. How long will your experiment run? Okay? So be thinking about that as you design your journey. Will it be 24 hours? Will it be, 7 days? Or will it be 3 months? Whatever it is, keep that in mind. Have a plan for why you are choosing that amount of time to complete your challenge. The other thing that you must ask yourself is, do you need any outside help with the challenge or to complete the challenge? In other words, are you going to need sponsors of some kind, right? Are you going to need any special vendors as you do the challenge? I don't know. Again, these are things that you need to think about. And one of the other cool things about if you are going to need some outside help is that these vendors, these people that are going to help you along the way, they in fact could sponsor you, like financially sponsor you through this journey.
Now, it should go without saying that you should only do a challenge that you could fully commit to. So if you cannot commit to doing it, don't do it at all. Don't half-ass it, okay? Whole-ass it, if at all possible. You want to fully commit to the project if you're going to do it. That's the only way that you're going to actually finish it. And of course, reap the rewards that come from this type of approach. The next element is, how are you going to report your progress? Remember, the idea is to bring others into the fold. Get them invested in your journey with you. They have to know that you are doing the journey, right? Are you going to podcast? Are you going to make YouTube videos? Are you going to do blog posts? And where are you going to post these things? The key is that you are consistent. You are consistent on all of those. So if you start in on doing podcast, then do the podcast. And that's how you're going to communicate with folks. And then also, the consistency of how you're going to report. Are you going to report daily, weekly, monthly, bi-weekly? What is it? Stick to that schedule, okay? Super, super important because, again, as you go through your challenge, more and more people are likely going to find you by and through the fact that you're doing this really cool challenge, right? Another consideration is, will each sort of phase of your challenge develop into its own chapter? So think about each step in your hero's journey as a chapter in your book. Kind of break it up beforehand, how it may go, right? Be thinking about this before you start. Now, here's the other thing that is so cool about this particular approach, and that is because you are reporting back on your progress, your setbacks, all of that. One thing that you can and should do is ask your audience as you go for their feedback, for their suggestions. Man, that's powerful. Man, people want to hear that. They want to know that they are helping you and, again, really, really living it with you. Of course, this is the same group of people that you're later going to draw from who are going to buy your book in droves. And that's, of course, what you want.
So now let's turn to writing the book itself. It's, in my opinion, easier to do draft chapters as you go through the process. Also, in order to do these draft chapters as you're actually doing the challenge, so actually consider dictating your thoughts as you go. There's great dictation software available and sites like temi.com and rev.com that could actually take your dictation and have it transcribed up really, really well. And you should think about doing that. Obviously, once you've gone through all this, although you probably don't need to hear it, I should say that if you're going to do this and you're going to do the entire challenge, then please have enough gas left in the tank to actually finish your book, right?
I'm going to utter a word that I know many of you will not like. Oh well. And that word is deadline. Deadline. You have to set yourself up deadlines, and you probably set yourself up deadlines during your challenge anyway, but that needs to be applied to your book as well. Set yourself deadlines and live by them. Now, one of the chief ways that I love to approach a project like this in other words, where I have to finish something that I set out, is not only do I set myself up a deadline, but I also set myself up a word count that we do every single day when you're in the book writing mode. And I'm going to suggest a great way for you to proceed when you do this as well. So set yourself up a daily word goal, and get this, do not allow yourself to get up from your desk until those words are actually on the page. That number of words that you set out to write is actually right there staring you in the face. Now I want to turn the corner and talk about actually publishing the book that you have written, right?
Now here's the other cool thing. If you've done this, in other words, you have designed a really great, compelling challenge that people become invested in, and you build a following as you go, it's going to allow you to essentially choose how you wish to publish the book. Because the number one criteria that most publishers are looking for is whether the author actually has a following, whether they have a platform. And the larger your platform, the easier it is to get a publishing deal. So the cool thing here is that this strategy gives you options. It gives you the option to either traditionally publish if you've built a big enough platform as you've gone through your challenge, or obviously self-publishing is still available to you. But make sure whatever you put out is well written, obviously edited, and has a pro interior as well as a gorgeous cover. And of course, make sure that the book goes into audiobook, ebook, and physical book formats as well. Also, you should, if you are self-publishing this book, you should have your book on more than just Amazon. Okay, Amazon is not the be-all, end-all, believe it or not, for book selling. Yes, it's about 50% of the marketplace, a little less than 50%, but that leaves another 50%. Okay, so get your books onto other sites like Barnes & Noble, Draft to Digital, IndieBound, and other places where your books can be purchased. Okay? Finally, let's talk about launching and promoting the book. Here, again, use your preferred channel. If you've started off on Facebook, in other words, in announcing and reporting as you've gone through your challenge, that's probably a good place for you to launch from. And I would also employ, or when I say employ, I would recruit out of your most hardcore devotees a launch team. And what I mean by this is you're going to, as I said, you're going to be developing lots and lots of fans as you go through this, and some of them will become your groupies, okay? And what I'm saying is that you should put together a launch team of these groupies or these super fans so that they are ready to obviously buy the book and then write and post reviews of your book when it goes live. And of course, then also contact local media, pitch stories to magazines, blogs, and other media about your experiences as you can.
So I hope that you got massive value from today's video. One of the great things about this approach is not only does it set you up to write and finish your book, but also keeps you accountable along the way. So if you got value from today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you'd go ahead and Hulk smash that like button, and of course, hit the little bell notification and subscribe. Actually, hit the subscribe and then the bell notification. I'd really appreciate it if you would do that right now. And as with everything, we try to make sure that we are a blessing to you. Hopefully this content, this idea, this strategy is that blessing for you. You also need to go out and be the blessing.